Hi there, it's Tiffany of Clarity, Confidence, Courage, Women's Empowerment. I'm a life coach that helps heart-centered, empathic, divorced women rebuild, renew, and recreate their lives so they can have healthy, happy lives that they love. I focus on this channel on self-development and also how to build confidence and boundaries. So if you like this content, definitely share, like, and subscribe and let other women know about this channel. Now today I want to talk about how to create physical boundaries. So boundaries specifically around physical touch and why it's so important. The first thing I want to talk about with this concept is if you are a heart-centered, empathic woman, you give a lot of empathy, you're very compassionate, you're sensitive, you've always been a person that really likes to help people, you came out of a marriage where you were psychologically mistreated, you might be the type of woman that never got an opportunity, probably in childhood, to establish strong boundaries, but especially around physical touch. You know, one thing that I noticed that, it always makes me cringe when I think about it when I was a kid and when I would see other children out, is when parents, they teach their kids about like stranger danger, like don't ever let a stranger touch you, don't ever let a teacher touch you. But they don't teach their kids that it's okay to not want to be touched by family members. And when I say touched, I'm not necessarily meaning anything inappropriate in an assaulting way. I have to be careful on YouTube. But I'm talking about even a hug. You know how you see some kids, the parents are like, oh, go hug Uncle so-and-so. And they're like, I don't want to hug Uncle so-and-so. You shouldn't have to force your child to hug a family member. Children naturally, they love nurturing and intimacy with their parents. It's part of bonding mechanism, right? But when they feel uncomfortable, that is their body telling them they don't want to hug that person. Doesn't mean that person is bad. It's just them listening to their body and understanding what their boundaries are around physical touch. And so at an early age, we usually can naturally know, along with our parents telling us, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, but we also know from our bodies what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And when parents don't allow their children to express themselves in that way, they start to break down their children trusting their body to know what feels comfortable with physical touch and what feels uncomfortable with physical touch. And so if you're a woman who grew up in that household and then you got into a relationship where you were with a psychologically abusive person and they just all eroded all your boundaries, well, you may be kind of not quite sure where your boundaries begin and your rights begin and another person's rights ends when it comes to your physical touch. Physical touch in and of itself is a very intimate experience. Physical touch is an underlying level of intimacy. Intimacy isn't just about romantic intimacy or bedroom intimacy. Intimacy, you can have intimacy in friendships. It's about a level of closeness, emotional closeness, trust, feeling like you can talk to someone and having that trust within them. So intimacy is that level of connection. Yes, it can be physical, but it can also just be emotional. And so when it comes to intimacy with physical touch, if you are in a relationship with someone that you trust and you love, yes, you're going to want to be physically close to them. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this understanding of your levels of comfort when it comes to physical touch. Because what I consider comfortable may be different from what you consider comfortable, and that's okay. You may be the type of person that says, I'm not really a touchy-feely person unless I know the person really, really, really well. So for example, you may be a hugger with your female friends or your female coworkers, or maybe your brothers or someone that's really close to you. But you may not be a hugger with your boss or your coworkers or the guy at the cashier at the grocery store. You may not want to hug them because you really don't know them and you're not trying to build an intimate, close relationship with them. So you have to then ask yourself, well, what are my levels of comfort when it comes to physical touch? And who am I okay hugging me and who am I not okay hugging me? You can also have different time frames when it comes to your comfort level and the boundaries that you set with physical touch. So if you may meet someone new and you may not know them very well, in the beginning, you may not want them to touch you. But as you guys get closer or you build a close personal friendship, after a couple meetings or a couple times hanging out, you may be okay with them hugging you. You have the right to set physical touch boundaries at different levels and at different times. So please understand the first thing that you need to do is establish within yourself, your own self-awareness. What am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with? And who am I comfortable with touching me? The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to physical touch is personal space, this idea of proximity, how close or far someone is away from you. So again, physical space is a level of your personal boundaries, and physical space also is connected to this idea of intimacy or close connection. So for example, if you have a family member and they're talking to you, you may be okay or comfortable with them being about, here about 3 inches or maybe a foot away from you, or half a foot. I might be saying that wrong, but 6 inches away from you, you may be comfortable with that. That's normal comfort level for family members. Or if you have a sister and she's whispering in your ear, you guys may get close because you've already built a close, intimate relationship over time. But if you have a boss and he's right here talking to you, you may have to pull it like, I'm okay with you talking to me. Can you back up? Because the reason is proximity levels, it also signifies a level of threat. So if someone that you don't know is far away from you, you're comfortable with them. But if someone that you don't know and you don't really feel comfortable with comes here, now you feel threatened. So personal space also tells the brain whether the nervous system should be on high alert, is this a threat, or it should be on low alert and comfortable because this person has given you enough space to feel comfortable and you have a certain level of intimacy with them as far as friendship, family, whoever. Now, the reason that this is so important is because, again, your body can go into fight or flight mode depending on how close you feel a threat is to you. So if it's someone that you don't feel comfortable with and you feel that they're threatening, your body, the closer they get, might go into fight or flight mode. But if it's someone that you don't feel comfortable with and they're kind of far away, you may not be as worried. You can kind of walk off or go to another area and your body isn't going to have any reaction. So that's why proximity within your physical boundaries is so important. Did you know that in some countries, they have subways where they have a women's only subway cart where only women can get on? And the reason that they've done that is because they understand that women have had their personal space violated by men. Now, I'm not trying to bash men or say all men would violate a woman's personal space, but when a country, and there's several countries that have taken upon themselves to say, oh, women have been assaulted on the subway, women have had their personal space violated, women have, just again, things have happened to them because certain groups of men don't know how to react to women on a subway cart. So yeah, they have some subway carts where they're women only subway carts, only women can get in on them. And even then, even around other women or next to other women still should have a level of respect for personal space. So the point that I'm trying to make is you need to understand what your personal space level is. Is it 3 inches? Is it 6 inches? And does it change? And, for different cultures, it may change. There's certain cultures where it is completely normal for strangers to walk up to each other closely and talk. Well, that might be a cultural thing. Then it might be genders. You might feel completely comfortable with women coming close to you to speak that you know of and that you have an intimate relationship with as far as a friendship. But with men, you may not feel comfortable with any men coming up to you, and that's perfectly okay. It may be an age group. So my point is you have a right to set limits and to be able to turn the volume up or turn the volume down when it comes to different factors and what makes you comfortable when it comes to your personal space. Lastly, when it comes to physical touch boundaries, you have to be comfortable saying no. You have to be comfortable telling someone, I would really prefer if you step back, just you being this close to me is making me feel uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable verbalizing that. And I completely understand if that's not how you were raised or you've been told that people who say things like that aren't nice, but we're at a point in life now where we know that's not true. You telling someone and expressing your boundaries to them does not make you a bad person. As a matter of fact, it's a gift because they may not know what your boundaries are if you have not told them. So they don't know that they're violating it. So it's important for you to be able to verbalize that. And you can say things like, I would really like to talk to you, but can you move back just a little bit? Just this closeness, I'm just not comfortable with it. Or you might be able to say, if somebody says, hey there, give me a hug, I'm a hugger. You might say, great, well, I'm a handshaker. Nice to meet you. So there are ways that you can say no or object to what they want without feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna say something weird, I'm gonna call it out. but you have to practice. You can tell someone like, hey, I really appreciate you when you try to hug me or when you get close to me. I understand you really like being around me. Thank you. However, I have to have a level of boundaries with my personal space. And I would really appreciate if you respect that. That's it. It's not that hard, but if you haven't done it, you have to practice it. And I suggest practice those lines, the lines that I just said. Practice it in the mirror every day, especially if you struggle with this and there are some personal space violators or some personal physical touch violators around you. Let them know, I really appreciate you, wanting a hug, but it really makes me feel uncomfortable. And here's the thing, you don't have to tell people why. You don't have to explain to people your why. You don't have to defend why you feel like you need to have physical touch or physical touch boundaries or personal space boundaries. Your why can be private. If somebody says, well, why? Because I said so. That's the end of the conversation, because I said so. It was really nice to meet you. Thank you. You don't have to explain yourself. And even if it's a family member, if they say, oh, when you were a kid, you used to give me a touch, you used to give me a hug. Well, that's because my mother made me. But now that I'm adult, I prefer not to. It was good to see you. You have to be comfortable making other people be uncomfortable, or else they're going to continue to make you feel uncomfortable. So when you set your boundaries and you express those boundaries, don't be ashamed of that. That's you stepping out into the world and saying, this is who I am. This is my rules for my life. And I'd appreciate it if you respect that. And if people don't respect your boundaries after you verbalize them, I always say, don't make me say twice what I already told you once. You need to think really hard about the people who are constantly violating your boundaries, especially if you've already expressed to them how you feel. You should not have to continue to repeat yourself over and over and over again. Fine. Now, but if it's somebody who keeps violating a boundary, especially when it comes to physical touch and that level of intimacy, and it just gives you the heebie-jeebies every time you have to get around them, you may need to take them out of your life. Or if it's a boss or a coworker and you feel like it's turning into harassment, now you may need to talk to an attorney, a lawyer, human resources. Now it's getting towards violating not just your boundaries, but the law. So again, when it comes to physical touch, when it comes to personal space, when it comes to saying no, you have to get comfortable with that whole concept, and you have to be able to verbalize yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Let other women know about this channel, and let me know in the comments any time that you have had to tell someone about your physical touch boundaries and how it turned out. All right, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.